Welcome back, YouTube. This is Bumbery. I do apologize for my unannounced leave of absence. Life hit me right between the eyes, but we've mostly wrestled that down, so now we're starting a new series discussing our supervillains, their pros and cons, and when I would use one over another in a given situation. Today, let's look at the Riddler, and we'll talk a bit about his stats and his abilities. And to start off with, I am going to compare his health and DPS to the other supervillains because he is significantly weaker in both regards than any of the other supervillains. We see that his base stats for his health, this is at rank 9. My best troops are at rank 9 right now. His health is 3,300 and he does basically 100 DPS, 108. We see that Scarecrow has more health, way more DPS. Killer Croc, way more health, also more DPS. Mr. Freeze, way more health, and he's still doing more DPS. Even Harley has more health and is doing more damage per second. So when would I use the Riddler? Well, let's go below and we see the pros and cons with the green plus and the red negative sign. We see that he is strong against electronic threats. Keep that in mind. And he can damage multiple targets from a distance. Those two things are very important if you want to use him effectively. He's fragile without holograms, and he has no speed up skills. So I never use the Riddler if I need to cruise through a mission quickly, or if I know that it's one of those maze bases that I'm going to have to start at one end and work my way all the way to the other just to get the 2-star. I'm not going to use the Riddler for those situations and expect a 2-star. So let's go over to our active skills, and I'm going to skip the question arc right now so that we can talk about the hologram. The holograms are an active skill, which means you actually have to do something in game to use it. You're going to press a button that looks exactly like the face you see at the bottom there, and he's going to release a hologram. You have to unlock it. Obviously, if you haven't played the game, you wouldn't know this. If you have, this is really obvious, and I apologize. But, you know, just to be thorough, you need to unlock this ability and then use it to launch a hologram. He's very weak without them, but check this out. Every time you launch a hologram, you've got a free tank with 828 health. This is something I like to point out as well. He has health. The hologram has health. So if you send the hologram into a room that has a ridiculous amount of DPS, he's going to disappear very quickly. He's not going to give you the full 15-second duration that is promised there because his health, you know, he dies. The hologram actually dies. So how do we go about not losing our free tank as quickly? Well, if you upgrade it, you then get 2 of these decoys. They both have 828 health, and ultimately you can upgrade both of these. Or excuse me, you can upgrade to have 3 of these. So you would then have 3 free tanks every 15 seconds. Very, very helpful. Something else you need to know about the holograms, they're going to continue on into another room. Say you've defeated all the enemies. They're going to continue on into the nearest room with the nearest enemy available. And this is very helpful if you have a room, for example, like mine here that has the jammer. If you have a jammed room like this, and say I had made my way all the way up here, on my way to, I'm going to show you how to beat my base, by the way. If I wanted to see how, you know, to get to my vault, and I've cleared this room, I would then get close to the door here, decently close. I don't want to get too close, I'd blow myself up. But then I release the holograms, and they're going to come into this room, and as soon as they come in, they're scouting for me because the jammer no longer works. Like, it shuts off when there's someone in the room. So the holograms are going to take very, very quick damage from the auto turrets, but I now know what's in there. So I could either wait 15 seconds or I could, you know, it gives me options from there. But at a minimum, I know that those holograms are not going to wander back this direction if there are no troops here. They're going to go to the nearest enemy troop in the nearest room. So that's kind of important to keep in mind. Back to our abilities. Let's talk a little bit about the question arc. This is the first and only ability that you have unlocked immediately. You do have one passive skill. We'll get to that in a moment. So it's your first and only active skill that you come with, and you can upgrade the question arc significantly. I may or may not when I get to 10. I'm kind of debating what I'm going to do next, but let's take a look at what it is useful for. The question arc, again, it's an active ability. You have to click on the question mark icon, and then you'll see a radius for which you can launch the first arc, and we'll talk about what that means in just a moment. And we see that the question arc is a blast of electricity A blast of electricity arcs from the Riddler to the targeted location, not just an individual, it could be a location, and it damages everything in a line. So everything between the Riddler and that location is going to be damaged. So in a situation like this, if I had the Riddler, say where this box is, instead of just targeting the sentry, if I wanted to target the guard post, I would then damage everything in a line on the way to that guard post, which is really helpful to understand how that works to play most effectively. At level 2, the question arc will now bounce to a second target in the room. And this, I've gotten in the bad habit of, again, if the crate is the Riddler, I will I will send the question arc to this sentry, and then it'll bounce somewhere else. It's not necessarily wrong to do that, because now it is bouncing and going to hit both of them, but I'm missing some of the... I don't know, I'm losing some of the potential damage in a larger room like this, where I could be arcing to here and then doing damage to other things in the room as well. So it's going to do damage in whatever line the arcs, so continuing along the line that the arcs are actually projecting. The third level, we see that the question arc will now bounce to a third target in the room, and ultimately I could upgrade it one more time so that it bounces to a fourth item in the room. So like I say, I'm not fully sure that I want to do this as my next upgrade, but it's very tempting, because having it ricochet everywhere in a room is very tempting. Let's take a look at the passive skills. These are the skills that you don't need to do anything. He's just going to do them by default, which is kind of troublesome when we're talking about the electronic warfare, and we'll get to that in a moment, and you'll see what I mean once we start discussing that. So the one you come with is the Enlightened Touch, and this is actually a melee skill. You don't want to use the Riddler for melee, which is why I probably will not upgrade this to its full potential. I don't use him for melee because he's so squishy. I'm trying to keep him in the back and add support, but when someone gets close enough, we read that the Riddler electrocutes an enemy with his cane, damaging and stunning the opponent in melee. The damage is pretty significant. You've instantly dealing 324 damage, so this is great if someone sneaks behind your tanks, for example, that are in front of you. You can pretty quickly take someone out, and then the stun duration right now is at level 1 is just 0.5 seconds. It's not really that big of a stun, but it gets them off you for a second, and the cooldown is 15 seconds. When we level this up, it increases the damage quite significantly. So from 324 to 432, that's the only thing that the upgrade does. And then our third it's our second upgrade, but tier 3, if you will, reduces the cooldown of Enlightening Touch, which is very handy. So I obviously went ahead and did this, because instead of every 15 seconds, I can now use it every 10 seconds, and it allows me to zap a number, it allows me to stay in one location and zap more people who are accidentally sneaking behind, like a loony bin. There you go. So if you have a bunch of loons jumping on top of you, you're now able every 10 seconds to deal with one of them quickly and more effectively. And then if I were to upgrade this one more time, which I doubt I will, it further increases the damage to 540. But I personally feel that for my last point, my what are these points called? My ability point, I guess. And for the last ability point that I'm going to get, I really don't feel like that's the best place to spend this for my playstyle. So let's talk about technical expertise. If you unlock this, which I suggest you do, you get a free character. He walks right in there with you, and every single battle you get this this little... you can't select him, but you get this drone. He comes along, he does damage, and he provides even more support. So you've got your holograms, and now you also have this drone that is accompanying you into battle. So at level 1, he's got a decent amount of health. He's got 1,300 health, and he's doing moderate damage. Really not that big of a deal, 21 DPS. But at the same time, he's free troops, and he's definitely a free tank, which is really handy if you're in in that situation where your holograms died too quickly and you really need to take some pressure off. He's in there. He's up close and fighting dirty right in the faces of your defending troops or their defending troops. The technical expertise level 2 increases the damage of the drone to 30, which I have not unlocked. I probably won't, just because an extra 30 DPS through the, is really not super helpful for me. The only reason I would upgrade that is to get to the tier 3. If I was intending to get to tier 3, I would then have 2 of these drones coming with me, and that would be a little bit more helpful. So I would have my 2 or 3 holograms, and then I've got 2 drones, so I've just got a mess of troops causing all sorts of distraction while the rest of my troops have the pressure taken off to do whatever they want. In a base and regulate. Electronic warfare, we see that the Riddler overloads an electronic device in a room, temporarily disabling turrets or causing technological objects to explode. So this would be why when you enter a room and you see the lab explodes immediately for some reason, that's what's going on. It's the electronic warfare. Wow, stumbling all over myself today. Its cooldown is 20 seconds, and I mentioned that I said these are passive skills. They're going to happen on their own no matter what. So if there's something in a room that he can blow up with this electronic warfare, or he can shut down an auto turret, he's going to do it. Which is a problem if, for example, you're on the way to this room. Whoa, there we go. If you're on the way to this room and you want the auto turret to shut down, but you were in another room, and so, for example, he deactivated a TV or something, who cares? He blew up a TV, and he's making his way to an auto turret. Well, you got 20 seconds to wait before he can do it again. So you can run into a room before that ability is ready to do its thing. So again, the electronic warfare at tier 1 is awesome, but it can be troublesome if you're waiting that full 20 seconds, having blown up a television. At tier 2, now two devices are affected, and I'm actually significantly considering this one because in those double turret hallways, like we saw in my case, I can shut them both down, which is really handy. And again, you've got 6 seconds to do something. You got 6 seconds to blow those auto turrets and get rid of them. So in the electronic warfare tier 3, you've got 3 items that are going to either blow up or be taken down for 6 seconds. So not really. I've personally felt like and I could throw it in the comment section below if you disagree. The tier 3 seemed a little overkill for me. There's not a whole lot of situations where I'm thinking it's so important I blow up 3 technological items in a room every 20 seconds. 2 is plenty. 1 is fine, actually. 1 has been doing just fine. So that's kind of a rundown of the Riddler. One other thing to highlight again, even though I said it right at the beginning, this man will never sprint. Unless you're in an isotope mission and you pick up an isotope, then he will walk a little bit faster. But the rest of the time, you notice we went through all of the skills. He doesn't have anything that is going to make him move any faster. So if you are raiding bases and you need to get through really quickly, for example, say I need to get from this room all the way back to the vault, I'm gonna probably, if that's my goal, I'm probably going to use another supervillain who can run faster, just because he doesn't move fast. So that's a little rundown of the Riddler. Let me know what you thought, and if you disagree, agree, in the comment section below. As always, like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in future videos discussing more supervillains very soon.